Welcome to Arlington Public News. I'm Meg Weck.
And I'm Paul Werlin. Thanks for joining us. In this edition of APN, Special Town Meeting wraps up their work, and we'll look at a very busy night at Town Hall. And our autonomous vehicles right around the corner.
Then, several Spy Ponder teams have their sights set on the playoffs.
That and more next. Stay with us. Election and budget season have kicked off here in Arlington. Tyler Robichaux brings us these stories in tonight's snapshot. Hi Tyler, what do these seasons have in store for us?
Thanks, Paul. Special town meeting was the perfect opportunity for candidates or their representatives to get started filling up nomination papers. The foyer of Town Hall had a campaign rally feel as town meeting arrivals met up with eager signature gatherers. A local newcomer was among the candidates there to introduce herself. Lori Lennon is an Arlington resident looking to get on the ballot and face Sean Garbely in the 23rd House District Democratic primary.
Why now? It's why not now? It's time to run. It's time for women to have a stronger voice in the community. The State House is made up of 25% of women, so it's time for the State House to really represent the demographics of the community itself. I'm going to use my professional and personal experiences to really hone in on the community and bring really strong and innovative ideas to the State House. I worked in higher education, I worked in broadcast news, I'm a full-time working mom, I'm a single mom, and I've really got some strong innovative ideas that I want to work with the community on to build a really strong conduit to the State House.
No member of the House owns their seat. This is not my seat. I have the honor of occupying it for a short period of time, and at any time when the people of Arlington and West Medford decide that new ideas are needed, that a new perspective is needed, they have that choice, a very important choice to make, on whether or not I should continue in that role. I think there are solid benefits to having a real debate on the issues that matter most to the people that we represent. And so I think there is a real value to having that conversation, being able to go door to door, asking someone for their vote, and letting them know what you're going to do for them over the next 2 years. And that vote is a measure of accountability, and it needs to be checked. And that's why I believe it is critical for representatives and senators to be challenged.
Candidates have until May 1st to submit their nomination papers to the Registrar of Voters for certification. The statewide primary will take place on Tuesday, September 4th. Superintendent Kathleen Bodie presented her proposed fiscal year 2019 budget to the school committee last week, focusing on how Arlington can continue to grow high-quality public schools in the face of a rising school-age population. Demographic trends show across-the-board enrollment increases, but elementary schools are leading the way. Grade sizes at Arlington High School range from 315 to 350 students, but there are more than 500 students in 3 elementary grades and more than 470 in the other 3, according to the budget proposal. One area getting a lot of community attention is the size of kindergarten classrooms and the question of whether or not one teacher and one part-time teaching assistant is enough to handle classes that have grown to 25 students. This budget includes a full-time aide for every kindergarten class in town, adding the full-time equivalent of 9.5 kindergarten TA positions, each with a salary of $18,000. A dollar increase of $171,000 in funding.
First of all, the elementary principals did put this as a high priority. The kindergarten teachers, I think, would tell you that that's something they would like to have.
2 sets of eyes on a kindergarten class, to my mind, is sort of an essential. To have one adult with a class of kindergartners, I think, just leaves yourself open for a kid who has a need to then put the whole class in a position where none of the other kids can have their needs immediately met if that comes about as well.
Committee members agree the additional help would be a benefit, but there is debate about how to best implement the program. Flexibility was key to the discussion.
The other issue I did bring up, and we haven't really gone to each teaching assistant, is whether they will want to remain if they have to go to full-time. So we might need to take a look at then, if the answer is no, do we then have a different person come in for the afternoon? I mean, that's another possibility too. So I think there's going to be some flexibility in terms of that, because once somebody has already had the training in the tools program, I think we would not be well served to just say, well, just because you can't go full-time, you can't continue.
Members want to know if there is room for flexibility in assigning aides based on need or class size rather than grade. And they want to hear from teachers themselves.
I'd like to suggest, through the chair, prior to making a decision on this, that we have some kindergarten teachers come in and explain the benefits to the full board to understand, in my mind, the difference between a set number, because it's a population thing, as opposed to an educational value of the thing.
I certainly can arrange that if you want at the next meeting. I'll ask.
That's all we have for Snapshot tonight. Back to you, Meg.
Special town meeting got all its business wrapped up in one night. The warrant article getting the most attention involved the recodification of the zoning bylaws. The year-and-a-half-long process was a question mark up to the last minute. News Director Heather Avison brings us this report on a busy night at Town Hall.
Town Moderator John Leone made it clear from the very beginning of special town meeting that discussion about the zoning recodification would be civil and based on fact.
This is mostly about zoning tonight, so we're going to focus on that until we get through with that. But during their presentations, let's keep our remarks strictly about the substance of the articles. Let's not talk about any how we interpret how some town official may or may not be interpreting a zoning bylaw or not. We're not getting into that. We're going to strictly talk about the articles and the amendments to those articles. And we're not going to get into any ad hominem attacks or anything of that nature. And if you do, I'm not going to let that go forward. Mr. Bunnell?
Andrew Bunnell, chairman of the Arlington Redevelopment Board, began discussion with a 20-minute presentation, pointing out the flaws of the current zoning bylaws and the benefits of recodification. That was followed by almost 2 hours of discussion and proposed amendments before they were ready to take a vote.
Now we have before us the main vote of the ARB is contained in their report, and as amended by all of those amendments, this requires a 2/3 vote. So as soon as we're ready, we're going to take a vote on Article 2 as amended. If you're in favor of Article 2 as amended, please press 1 for yes, 2 for no. $148 in the affirmative, 35 in the negative. The vote passes. That terminates Article 2 and brings us to Article number 3.
Last year, you'll recall that we passed some new provisions within the noise abatement bylaw to regulate residential construction, open excavation, and demolition activity. Our report refers to a previously non-ripe ambiguity, which I would call an unintended consequence of our action, in that we inadvertently extended the hours and restrictions to work on public and private ways by utilities and by the Department of Public Works. This had the unintended consequence of actually shrinking the hours of work that are allowed. Any of you that have had road work being done outside your homes, I think you may agree that a shortening of those hours means that the crews will be outside your home for longer in order to maximize the ability to actually get this type of work done in the short season. The board is respectfully requesting your support of the proposed vote, which would allow non-emergency work to be performed outside the hours that are listed for work on private property with the permission of the town manager.
Articles 4 and 5 both dealt with the Parking Benefits District. Article 4 sought the endorsement of town meeting members for any expenditures. And in Article 5, town meeting members voted on the expenditures put before them. The final article at special town meeting was a funding request for the addition to Hardy Elementary School.
When the Finance Committee report was written, we didn't have a number. And since then, the Permanent Town Building Committee and the Capital Planning Committee have met, and they've recommended $1.3 million in both parts of that article.
Okay, so this is a bonding issue, so it requires 2/3 vote. All in favor of the recommended vote, please press 1 for yes, 2 for no. 170 affirmative, 5 in the negative.
I move the town meeting be dissolved.
All in favor of the dissolution of town meeting, please say yes. Yes. All opposed? Town meeting is so dissolved. Thank you all very much. We had a good evening.
With special town meeting wrapped up, attention turns to annual town meeting, set to begin on Monday, April 23rd.
You know, Meg, with all these elections in the state and the town and the annual town meeting, there's certainly a lot coming up. It's shaping up to be a pretty busy year.
It's exciting to see how much interest there is in these issues around town. What could education look like in the new Arlington High School?
And don't look now, but that car has no driver. Are you ready? That and more when we come back.
If you store your guns properly, I'll feel safer when I'm playing outside.
Safer when walking home.
And I won't have to tell my kids, this isn't a drill.
Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. Always lock it up.
The second of 4 Arlington High School Building Project community forums looked at the educational vision that parents, educators, and students would like to see supported in a new or renovated building. Almost 100 participants got an introduction to the current educational focus at AHS and a look at what could be before working in groups to come up with their own educational vision and goals.
How do we give kids the goods? How do we make sure we're creating well-rounded, educated, and citizens who are interested in learning, who find something that they're passionate about, who gain a level of confidence in their ability to be a thinker, and who go off into college and career in a feeling really positive about their opportunities. The building is not the change. You can have an amazing building and not so great a program, and more often you see great programs and really, buildings that have a lot of challenges. So it's really about the program. But what the building can do, hopefully, is to help the district and the school take their agenda forward and grow into it in some exciting ways.
So one of the really exciting things that we've been working on over the last 5 years is growing what we're calling an interdisciplinary makerspace. And I'm going to talk broadly about a lot of ways in which we're doing blended learning. Technology is really transforming all of education. But technology for us does 4 really significant things. It allows us to differentiate instruction in ways that we were not easily able to do before, because I can put completely different texts and materials in front of kids in the same classroom. It allows us to engage students in ways that we weren't able to do before. I can put a headset on a student, which we are doing in some of our classes with virtual reality headsets, and I can have them walk around on Ironsides or in the Parthenon. At the same time, it allows students to produce work, and Mr. Stevens was talking about that before, at a level which is professional. Like, we can turn out professional level materials. In the makerspace, we only teach 2 classes, but the place is busy. If you walk in there at any time during the day, there will be physics students in there, social studies students in there, culinary, people in there making and doing things. And the more people can get access to that, the better. So 2 things that we're doing also in terms of blending that beyond the school walls, which I think are worth noting. One is this STEAM Design Thinking Certificate. We're working on these interdisciplinary certificates. So as students are able to do that kind of connected learning, we want to be able to credential them. The 3 certificates we're working on, one is Global Competency, which was launched a couple of years ago, which is looking at sort of what do you need to be a globally connected person. The second is the Design Thinking Certificate, which is looking more at STEAM skills, and hopefully in a couple years we'll work on one related to civics. The other thing that we're doing in terms of blended learning, which has finally, I think, hit its inflection point of really blowing up, is using what are called MOOCs. MOOCs are massive open massive open source online courses. When I talked about colleges and content, most of the major universities in the world are now putting much of their content and many of their best classes online. And when you imagine kind of where we go going forward, that level of being able to connect and knowing how to run conversations online, knowing how to give feedback online, starts to give us much more flexibility to experiment with some of the things that Mr. Stephen talked about, where students maybe in their junior and senior year don't need to come to school all the time every day, and you could pilot that in smaller groups.
What top 5 skills, mindsets, and character traits you anticipate your kids will need for an evolving future of work and lives as citizens? So we want you to consider what skills they need in their daily work and lives today, and anticipate what future skills you think will be needed. So we'll be asking each small table to put together a list of your top 5 skills that you come to some agreement on as particularly important.
One thing that came up was a lot about how to communicating effectively, both in writing and speaking, and understanding that there are different ways that people take in information, so that you need to be able to communicate that way. Also, we discussed some of the social emotional things and how it's important to learn how to not get lost in life, so that you have to be confident, you have to believe in yourself and advocate for yourself.
We also talked a lot about the importance of curiosity and lifelong learning, that our students would be kind of self-motivated, not necessarily motivated by grades, but would feel a desire to pursue learning independently.
What suggestions, ideas, and requests do you have for the education that Arlington High School will provide in the future?
Our request was that it needs to be a system-wide approach, that you need to start teaching the skills for inquiry-based learning and identifying passions before you get to high school.
So we had 2 high school students whose eyes lit up when they talked about the project-based learning that they were doing. They've only done a little bit in high school now, but they had ideas for many, many more things, and they also expressed frustration about the lack of flexibility in the classroom. There's more things they wanted to do, and the class schedule is pretty rigid.
The next community forum will take place on Monday, March 5th at the high school. The forum will focus on the vision for the new design of a new or renovated building. The evening will begin with tours of the school, followed by a presentation and feedback on design patterns. For more information on the AHS Building Project, visit ahsbuilding.org.
Policymakers across the country are grappling with how to promote, but at the same time regulate, the testing and development of autonomous vehicles on their roads. Arlington is choosing to get ahead of the curve on the new technology, setting themselves up to be a testing ground for this wave of the future. APN reporter Sebastian Gonzalez-Johnson brings us this report.
On January 8th, the Board of Selectmen approved a plan from Town Manager Adam Chapdelaine to take the first steps in allowing the testing of autonomous vehicles. Chapdelaine drew up a memorandum of understanding with the Massachusetts Department of Transportation.
And it basically says that we will work with MassDOT to allow communities to apply to do autonomous vehicle testing in Arlington. So it says that we will work with them on it, we will accept applications, and then we will receive data back from them if they do the testing in Arlington.
With this plan, Chapdelaine positions the town of Arlington as a pioneer in welcoming this complex technology, its data, and its impact.
I can't actually sit here and say that I know that any of the testers want to come to Arlington. So I think that will remain to be seen. They're testing in Boston now. I do know they want to test in different communities, different types of roadways, but I think once we sign this MOA, the application is finalized by MassDOT, then we'll get a better sense of what the actual interest is from these companies about coming into Arlington or other surrounding communities. So my hope would be that while these manufacturers are testing, they'll be learning things about the way traffic signals work, about the way lane markings work, about any number of different things that we manage, share that with us, and then we can figure out if we need to make changes.
In November, an educational forum on autonomous vehicles brought experts and community members together to discuss the development of self-driving cars and what this could look like for Arlington. Speakers included Scott Smith of the Volpe National Transportation Center, Eric Barusa of the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, and Raphael Maris of the Conservation Law Foundation. Topics included the anticipated timeline for the technology.
This is coming. This isn't just some science fiction stuff.
We're not talking about 15 years. We're not talking about 20 years. We're not talking about 25 years. This is happening soon. You know, it could be as soon as 2-3 years from now. Maybe it'll take 5. Maybe it'll be 7, but it's going to happen relatively soon.
We are a few years before the adoption of a major new transportation technology that is going to change our lives beyond just how we get around. And imagine if you could go back in time to the year 1900, knowing the impact that the automobile had on society. How would we do things differently?
There are currently 3 autonomous vehicle developers doing road testing in Boston's Seaport District. The expansion of testing areas depends on meeting strict safety criteria set by the city. Arlington is one of 13 local communities interested in bringing this technology to their streets. Residents of Arlington have mixed feelings regarding the integration of the technology. While some are intrigued by the idea, others still hold serious concerns regarding safety.
I'm terrified of self-driving cars, so I don't feel good about that. I mean, if they were in a contained area and you were watching it, it might be cool, but the whole thought of them doesn't put me at ease.
Well, I guess have a little trepidation, but you know, human drivers aren't so good, so maybe they'll be better.
I'll be freaked out about that if something totally goes a little wacko with the whole mechanical stuff. I would not want to be in a car that would not know what to do if it's in a car crash.
Obviously, it's a new technology, and but I think that in the long run, safety should be improved greatly with fewer driver errors, you know, and as long as it's introduced in a safe manner and the integration with drivered cars.
So I'm kind of like wondering, you know, can machines do it better? I mean, you know, I hope they can, you know.
I think it'll probably draw some attention to Arlington. So, and Arlington would be probably looked at favorably as a city that wants to work towards a future, a better future.
For Arlington Public News, I'm Sebastian Gonzalez-Johnson.
The Memorandum of Understanding is currently being reviewed by the Massachusetts Department of Transportation. If approved, Chapdelaine says we could see autonomous vehicles testing on the streets of Arlington later this year. You know, Meg, I'm not quite sure if I'm ready for autonomous vehicles yet. I may be a little old school. I know it's the wave of the future, but not sure about that.
I don't know. They can't be much worse than some of those Massachusetts drivers.
That's true. Maybe it'll improve things on the roads.
Get ready for playoff action. The Ponders are coming on strong.
And we've got events and activities to keep kids of all ages happy during vacation week. We'll be right back.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
School vacation week is here. Check out these upcoming events and activities for kids of all ages. Train enthusiasts will enjoy watching trains climb mountain passes, shunt freight cars, and use branch lines to pick up and set out cars at the industries and stations along the way. Then, engineers of all ages can participate in hands-on activities at the Model Train Show being held Saturday and Sunday at the Masonic Library and Museum in Lexington. Ticket prices range from $5 for an individual to $7 for a family. Contact the museum at 781-861-6559 or srmml.org for more information.
Celebrate the Winter Games in a wild way. Animals at the Stone Zoo will be getting into the Olympic spirit throughout vacation week. Kids can compare their own athletic abilities to those of the animal world. Zookeepers will be on hand to share fun facts and answer questions about the zoo's river otters, snow leopard, and black bear every day. Check the zoo's website at zoonewengland.org for more information.
The Old Schwab Mill will be open to visitors every day from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. during school vacation week. Tours feature a history of the mill and how it continues to be used as the original 1880s equipment to hand-turn wooden frames. Visitors can learn about the mill brook and how its water powered the mill and much more. The on-site art gallery will also be open, featuring For Crying Out Loud, We Are One, woodcuts and drawings of Arlington resident Stan Adelson. And on Saturday, February 24th, from 2 to 4 p.m., the artist will offer a family-friendly, hands-on demonstration. Adelson will demonstrate the woodcutting process as well as his drawing style. The program is geared toward both adults and children aged 5 and over. Bring along a drawing pad and your favorite drawing tools and learn some drawing techniques. Suggested donation to the mill is $5 per person. For more information, call 781-643-0554 or visit oldschwabmill.org.
And on Saturday, March 24th, head down to Town Hall between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. for the annual EcoFest. More than 30 local groups and businesses will be on hand. Check out electric car and bike displays, food trucks, and a mini farmer's market. In addition, there will be music, speakers, art exhibits, and kids' activities. For more information, contact Patsy Kramer at pkramer@town.arlington.ma.us.
Then, on Wednesday, February 28th at 10 a.m., the Winter Wednesdays series continues at the Historical Society. The Arlington Police Department is here to help us every minute of every day. But how much do you know about the history of the department? From 1853, when the town hired its one and only special police officer to arrest residents for gambling in town, to the tragic death of Officer Garrett Cody, who was killed in the line of duty by his own service weapon, learn about the APD's ever-evolving equipment and the history of the laws around town in this History of the Arlington Police Department presentation.
And another great activity, watching the Arlington High School Ponders. Arlington teams continue to chalk up wins, and that means we can look forward to some exciting playoff action. Our Studio B sports crew has this update for us.
I'm Kira Power, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Update. The weather is starting to warm up, which means the regular winter season is coming to a close, and fans of Arlington sports are getting ready for the playoffs. It's been a great season for the Spy Ponders. Boys hockey, girls hockey, and boys basketball have all qualified for a position in the playoffs, while girls basketball is only one win away from securing a position. They'll play Belmont here in Arlington on Thursday, February 15th at 6 p.m. and have an away game against Revere on Sunday the 18th at 11 a.m. Seeding for the basketball tournament will be announced on the MIAA site on February 23rd, while the hockey tournament seeding will be announced on the 24th. The boys basketball team have truly had an incredible run with over 40 regular season consecutive wins at home. They have once again taken home the Middlesex League Championship title, making this their third league championship within the last 4 seasons. Taking a look at some of our other athletes, students involved with indoor track, boys swimming, and wrestling will be competing in divisional competitions this weekend. You can find out more information about competition locations and times for each sport on the MIAA site. Speaking of wrestling, we'd like to congratulate Chan Kim for placing 3rd in his weight class, as well as Shake Prole, David Lopes, John Bowen, and Charles Gillis for all placing 2nd in their weight class in the recent sectional round of the MIAA tournament. That's all we have for the sports update this week. From everyone here at ACMi, we'd like to wish our Spy Ponders good luck in the upcoming tournaments.
Thanks for joining us. You can check out our latest segments and newscasts on the web at acmi.tv/news. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Arlington Public.
And if you'd like to be part of Arlington Public News and ACMi, email us at news@acmi.tv or stop by the studio here at 85 Park Avenue. I'm Paul Werlin.
And I'm Meg Weck. See you next time.